the most popular images in all of Christian sculpture is the image of Mary, the mother of Jesus, standing silently under the cross as her son dies. This icon has been endlessly painted and has created a recognizable image that is present throughout all of human history. However, although we see her as ever present in artworks today, Mary's prevalence in artworks of the Crucifixion has developed through the influence of the biblical story presented in the Gospel of John and depictions by early artists. As Jesus was dying, the Gospels tell us that Mary stood under the cross. Many people think she is the most important person to watch during this scene. She creates a mystical image that has become one of the most significant influences on the Christian faith. On the surface, it seems she isn't doing anything at all. She doesn't speak, she doesn't try to stop the crucifixion, or even protest its unfairness because of Jesus' innocence. She is presented as being silent, seemingly passive and doing nothing. Further analysis reveals she is doing all that can be done when one is standing under the weight of the cross. She holds her tension and is standing in strength. What Mary is doing under the cross, her silence and lack of protest, should not be interpreted as weakness. It is genuine and rare strength. By standing under the cross, she is symbolically taking away some of its hatred, chaos, bitterness, and violence. Sometimes artists have painted Mary as lying powerless under the cross. These images of a wounded mother lying helplessly and distraught can portray qualities of weakness and resignation. The Gospels take an opposite position compared to this. They describe her as standing, which is a position of strength. Of the 4 Gospel accounts of the death of Jesus, only John suggests Mary was there. Although scholars acknowledge that the 3 Gospels that do not include Mary at the crucifixion are the most historically accurate, John's description provides a meaningful dialogue between Jesus, Mary, and John. Jesus addresses his mother while he is on the cross by referring to her as woman and says, "Woman, behold your son." Then Jesus turns to John and says, "Behold your mother." Jesus' words are words of God from that moment. Mary is made the mother of all who will come to the church. The crucifixion of Jesus has been depicted in religious art since the 4th century CE. In the first 3 centuries of early Christian art, the crucifixion was rarely depicted. Church leaders initially regarded the crucifixion with horror, and thus as an unfit subject for artistic portrayal. The early works of art showed a living Christ, intended to minimize the appearance of suffering so as to draw attention to the positive message of resurrection and faith. Around the year 900, the artworks tended to show all 3 crosses, those of Jesus, the good thief, and the bad thief, also present at the crucifixion. But later, medieval depictions mostly showed just Jesus and his cross. During the Renaissance, a wider range of artworks were created. While the number of other figures shown increased, there was a similar trend for early depictions to focus on just the Virgin Mary and Saint John standing on either side of the cross. In the Gothic period, more elaborate narrative depictions developed, including many extra figures of Mary Magdalene, disciples, especially the 3 martyrs, standing behind the Virgin Mary, with angels in the sky. The Virgin Mary gained a much more important role as others saw her motherhood and co-suffering with Jesus. This notion provided Mary with a place in the story of salvation on the behalf of sinners. This resulted in Mary having a role in the narrative of mankind's redemption, causing her to become the focus of many artworks ever since. Here are some artworks portraying Mary during the crucifixion. The first work is a work from Master Santandasia from the 14th century. This sculpture is known for its extremely dramatic figures. Christ turns his head towards Mary, his mouth ajar in suffering, as if he is crying out to his mother. As you can see, Mary raises her clenched hands as to show her opinion by her firm facial expression. The second example is by Giorgio Vasari and was made in the 1560s. This large painting likely served as an altarpiece. The nearly life-sized figures contribute to the realism of the image. All the Vasari used intense colors and the presence of angels to convey the spiritual and emotional nature of the scene. The Virgin Mary, seen on the left, is robed in pink garments rather than her traditional blue and red robes. Our last example is a work by John Pennicod from 1530. Shown looking away from the scene and with her hands clasped in grief, Mary dominates the left side of the composition, due, in part, to the vibrant blue hue on her cloak. She stands to Christ's right, looking away from her Son, who is in anguish.